All right. So guess what just happened? When I joined from StreamYard from my phone, LinkedIn thought it was me, the host. And when I ended it from my phone, it ended the whole stream. So I'm going to give everyone just a few seconds to get back on the live stream again. Unfortunately, it's going to be a new link. So I'm going to give everyone about a minute or so here to jump on. And if you are watching this, if you can hear me talking, leave a comment in chat and say, yes, I found you. I'm sorry about the hiccup there. These are things that happen sometimes when you're going solo on things. Unfortunately, we have hiccups that occur in technology. What I learned was that when I ended the StreamYard joining the second session from my phone, it thought it was me, the host, and then it ended the entire stream. So I see you guys coming back on right now. We had like 91 people, and now we're slowly climbing our numbers back up again. So if you're seeing this, if you're hearing me, say, yes, I found it, right? Just let me know that the live stream is working again. And I'm going to drop a link to the new live stream in the old one in case people are watching and they're like, hey, what happened? Redirecting you to go into this live stream to be continued. I'm just going to say continued here. And hopefully you guys will see that in the comments. And they'll start coming back up. So if you can see me and hear me, drop a comment right now and say, yes, I found you. If you could, that lets me know that the live stream started working all over again. My guess is you probably went back to your LinkedIn homepage and then went back to my profile and found me again, right? That's what we do. When we're experience rich, we use our experiences, we put the pieces of the puzzle together, and we troubleshoot things. That's what we do, right? And when something goes wrong, when something goes out of miss on the agenda, what I like to do as the presenter is explain it. And then I want to move on because I don't want to dwell on the fact that we had a hiccup with technology for too much longer here. But I do want to give a chance for those people who lost the stream because of my ending it to be able to find me again. So I think you guys are back. Wonderful. I'm glad you found us. Michael is on here. Ruth is here. Leonard joining from Albania. Thank you so much, Leonard. Nice to see you here. Peter is back. Kim is back. Oh, I'm so glad that you guys find us. I apologize for the hiccup. Did everybody's heart stop? Did you go, oh, what happened? Was it me? Did everyone think it was you? It was me. It was not you. When you went live again, it gave you another notification. I'm so glad to hear that, Linda. And we are going to be live streaming again on all three networks, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. Unfortunately, it's going to be a new live stream, so the previous link is no longer going to work. But I'm glad that you guys all found me here. Now, one little hiccup is Heather is having an incorrect link. So let me copy the new link to the clipboard. And then I'm going to put her, I'll just say use this link instead. And then let's just double check here that she is still able to make it. So she said she had it on her calendar for 12:25. Did I have that incorrectly? It could have been, it could have been an email hiccup somewhere here and there. But at any rate, I think Heather's going to join us. We may have to cut her presentation down just a hair, but we'll kind of see how things go here. And then after Heather, we're going to have William Kiefer talking about insights from the employer side of the desk. So let's give Heather just a minute and have her join us. So, hey, Peter, stuff does happen, right? And what do? We make the best of the situation, right? We let people know what happened because there might be people wondering, what happened? Did I do something wrong? No, you didn't do something wrong. I closed the StreamYard on my phone and that shut down everything. So Ruth says she didn't get the first notification, but she received this one. So that's great. So since you were in LinkedIn, it sounds like LinkedIn put that into your notifications and you were able to find us, which is wonderful. So we're slowly climbing back up here in terms of our viewers again. I think we've got about 20 people in the session right now. Greg just messaged me and said, looks like the live event ended. I'm just going to say I just restarted it. And I'll put the link in there. I'm going to drop that into comments as I'm waiting for Heather. And what I do is when I'm sharing the link, guys, I go back to the original post and I just grab the link. You can click on the three dots in the upper right-hand corner. And that's how you grab links for these live stream playbacks here, or the live streams while they're in the live stream too. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm grabbing the link and I'm giving it to Greg because he just messaged me, right? This is what we do. We think about, if I can't find it on my own, I'm going to reach out to somebody who can help me, right? And that's what Greg did. He just messaged me in chat on LinkedIn through the messages, and I am sending him the link back. I am also going to go to the event page which, by the way, let me show you guys that event page right now. So I'm going to click on share screen. See my daughter's feet in the background there? She's laying on the bed doing some homework or something, I'm sure. So I'm going to click on share screen. I'm going to go into a Chrome tab, and then on StreamYard, it's showing me that I'm showing the live stream right now. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the event page. And I have an event page set up here on the Meller Marketing company page on LinkedIn. If I scroll down to the section that says, let me actually go in as a member here. And if I go down to the event page, I can see the event is right here. I'm going in here just in case someone registered for the event and they can't find the stream. Here is the link for the live stream second half. Okay. So if you're seeing that inside the group, that will at least give you directions on where to go, because you might be wondering what happened. I was watching it and it went away. So hopefully that will help you all out in there. All right. I'm just looking in my email right now to see if Heather saw my message that was in there. And I'll just say, yes, can you join now? Okay, and let's see if Heather replies back to that. We'll give her another couple minutes. While we're waiting to see if Heather is going to come on screen, I want to remind you guys about this event page. If you happen to register on the event page and you clicked the box to opt in to get my emails, you're on my VIP email list, and I will send you the playback. If you did not check that box, you will need to subscribe to my VIP email list, and that way I will send you the playback information. So Heather is in the green room now. Heather, give me a thumbs up if it's okay if I bring you up on camera. Is that good?
Yes.
Friends, we made it happen. We're all good.
I am so sorry. I had it in my calendar for 12:25, so I apologize to everybody.
Yeah, it's all good. I've been vamping. It actually gave me a little break because it's been going back to back to back. And it gave me some time to kind of chat with the audience and share some different links and things like that. So Heather, I'm going to turn the floor over to you right now. Heather and I know each other from previous lives when we were both part of the corporate world, right? Mm-hmm. And then the universe nudged both of us forward, and both of us ended up starting our own business. And I think we're kind of doing a great job, Heather. And the topic for today that you're going to be talking about is toxic workplace trauma and recovery, building your confidence. I know there's a lot of people on this session here today who maybe came from a situation, it could have been pre-COVID or as a result of COVID, where it was psychologically damaging, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, how do you get into the mindset of being a positive, upbeat job seeker when you're not feeling that way, right? So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Heather, and I think we can probably go a couple minutes longer, up until I think 12:30, unless our next speaker is a few minutes late, then we can go a little bit longer than that. But I'm going to turn the floor over to you right now.
Okay, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. So yeah, 70% of my clients come to me specifically because they are in toxic workplaces. A lot of the time they have been there for a while, they're top performers, and they're noticing that they're depressed and they're anxious and they're just tired of the toxic environment. And I think a lot of this has become more clear because of the pandemic and because of remote, work situations for so long, with people being told that they're being forced to come back into the office and do the commute and do all of those things that, add on to that stress and anxiety. It's kind of becoming the last straw for a lot of people. What a lot of people don't realize until we start talking about it is that a toxic workplace very much mirrors what an abusive family system looks like, or intimate partner abuse cycles. And what I mean by that is it usually starts out very good, very friendly, loving. We're all one big happy family. And then what starts to happen is there's a coldness, kind of a dismissiveness and a disrespectful tone that a lot of people experience from their boss, their manager, their leadership. Then that can erupt into things like stonewalling, where there's no conversation, or even anger, yelling, screaming. I have a client right now who has a boss who literally screams and yells at the employees, slams doors, does all of those types of things. After that, there might be part of the cycle where all of a sudden the boss gives you coffee or says in a meeting that you've done a really great job. And then people go, okay, well, maybe it was just a one-off. It was just that one incident. But pretty soon, we start to see the cycle repeat. It's very serious because this causes anxiety, depression. People will find themselves with migraines, insomnia, GI issues are very common. And of course, because of that emotional, psychological feeling of abuse that is happening, when people come home, they can't stop ruminating about it and reflecting on it. And it becomes very invasive. So there is a lot of trauma that is involved that happens. And when this starts to become a regular cycle, usually we say the cycle kind of quickens, right? And it becomes smaller and faster. And what people find is that they start to feel paralyzed. They start to feel stuck because they are being beaten down. Usually it's the top performers who are targeted because top performers tend to have a personality type where they want to keep doing better and making it better. And what ends up happening is you get stuck because your self-confidence is getting beaten down, because your anxiety is heightened, and people go into kind of a freeze mode where they feel like, I can't get out of here. This is just what it is. There's also some fear about the unknown. What if the next place is just as bad, right? Or what if it's worse? At least I know what I'm dealing with here. But the ramifications of this type of toxic workplace environment and the subsequent trauma, it will not go away. It will only get worse, right? So that's what we're looking at about the seriousness of this, is that if you don't address it, you will become more and more unhealthy. And you will also experience things like brain fog, right? So the point of the toxic workplace recovery with the coaching that I do is to acknowledge the trauma, is to dive into why you might have stayed as long as you've stayed, is to rebuild your confidence, think about what your true talents and abilities really are. Because again, most people who are targeted in these workplaces are top performers. I work with VP, CEOs, executive directors. Many of them are carrying a very, very heavy load of leadership, but they are also being abused by the person whom they report to, or the people. So we have to really take a look at, how did you get here? What made you stay? And how are we going to move you forward? And so we actually compile what's called an exit strategy in order to make that happen. One thing that I can tell you for sure is that once you make the decision to leave, you will completely remove yourself emotionally from what's happening and psychologically. So what you will be looking at is, instead of reacting, you're going to just simply be responding. And instead of absorbing, you kind of go into an observation mode. It's very freeing because you've taken your power back and you realize that this is not going to be the rest of your career. You are making a move to get out and to get into something better. My clients, once we do this work, and then we do all the technical stuff, LinkedIn, resume, interviews, salary negotiation, all of those things. But through that process, we're also taking a look at, what does the culture look like? What does it feel like? What is the body language like? Are they telling you that we're one big happy family? Because that's a red flag. So we learn what are the green flags to look for? What is the communication like between the people in the panel interview? What has your communication been like throughout this process? What can you learn about this company online? All of those things we want to do so that we can make a decision that the new position that you're accepting is actually in a healthy environment. And so there's a lot to this. I know that I'm a little bit rushed because of the schedule mishap on my part. So do you have any questions for me?
Well, I'm going to give everyone just a moment to respond. So on StreamYard, if you have a question, if you put it into comments, it takes about 30 seconds for you to hear what we're asking, and then another 30 seconds for people to type in and get that in, Heather. So I just want to kind of comment on a few things. You may not feel comfortable asking a question on camera, especially if you're in a situation right now. If that's the case, you can, if you're connected with me, you can message me on LinkedIn and I will anonymously ask your question for you. Or if it's something you don't want to ask, but you have a question for Heather, you could always ask her later, right? Heather, are you open to connecting with people on LinkedIn? I'm going to pull up your profile right now while I'm
Yes.
doing that.
Yep. I'm very open, especially any friend of yours, as you know, is a friend of mine. So
that's awesome. And I'm going to put up your LinkedIn URL up on screen as well right now. Do you have any kind of asks for people when they connect with you? I always like to tell people, include a personal note, tell them where you met them, or in this case, if you watched Heather on the segment here today, if there's something that you could mention in that invitation that would be helpful. Is that what you would prefer, Heather?
yeah, that sounds wonderful. Yep, that's perfect. And then people can always set up a discovery call if they are interested in coaching, or even, at the least getting some resources. My website is in my profile on LinkedIn, and you can set up a free discovery call with me too.
Okay, is that under your contact info where we can find that? Okay, so I'm going to click on contact info. And by the way, if you're in career transition, or even if you're working, look inside your contact info, make sure that your website, if you're working, it should be your current employer. I think even if you're in a toxic situation, I would still put you a current employer because it makes you look like a good employee. What do you think on that, Heather?
Yeah, absolutely. It does make you look like a good employee. And, just being able to show your brand is important as well. So people know what you're all about.
All right. And I just dropped in on the screen here. This is your website. So if they wanted to schedule a discovery call with you, Heather, where would they go on your website?
It's kind of peppered all the way throughout, just as schedule a discovery call here, but they could also, I believe toward the top, it says something like sign up here, or sign up for, it's somewhere up. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe under the,
yeah, probably under, get started.
Okay, there you go. All right, so
it just got redesigned a little bit ago. So
here it is. To get started, please schedule a 30-minute discovery call below, so you guys can go to her website, navigate around, and be able to find that link. Heather, I just want to say, things happen. I don't know if it was me that communicated the wrong time to you, or if it was scheduling. It happens. Heather, you and I are both human beings. And I respect so much you coming on today. And I would love it if you could jump into chat, Heather. I think we've got Bill in the background. I'm going to bring him in just for a second. Bill, are you okay? Give me a thumbs up if I can bring you up on screen just for a second. Okay, just a quick audio check. Bill, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, perfect. We can. I'm going to take Bill off screen, and Heather and I are going to wrap up our conversation here today. And Heather, you bring so many gifts and talents, and you help so many job seekers that are out there in the marketplace. If you guys joined us late here today, Heather was talking about, let me pull it back up on screen again today. We were talking about toxic workplace trauma and recovery, building your confidence. I wish we could go longer. If I didn't have Bill waiting behind you, Heather, I would keep us going here. But such an important topic. Heather, I'm wondering if I might be able to invite you on a LinkedIn Live, a solo interview with me in the next couple of weeks, and we can continue the conversation. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I would love that. And I will make 100% sure I put the right time in my calendar. I'm so sorry. But, I just want to say something real quick. Yeah. I know that you've done this. Is this the third year, fourth year? I'm starting to lose track of the LinkedIn-a-thons.
The first time I did a LinkedIn Live-a-thon was 2 years ago. It was actually a fundraiser through the American Cancer Society, and it was in person. Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, I started the virtual events, and I did January, February, March, April. We skipped the summer and then started again in September.
So I think it's what you do for people that are in career transition and job seekers on this side of what you do is amazing. And I am always so happy to do any sort of work with you, and want to thank you. I send my clients your way all the time for your wonderful advice. So thank you for doing this.
You're welcome, Heather, and vice versa. So many times people will approach me and they say, I need help with my LinkedIn plus my resume or a career strategy. And I'm like, I don't do resume and career, but I know Heather has a package where she does all of those things. So you're at the top of my list too, my friend. So thank you so much for joining. And if you're able to, Heather, we'd love it if you could jump into chat. There may be some questions, or there might be some messages coming your way as well. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. See you later.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to take Heather off of screen here. And next up, look at that. I did a little double take on there real quick. Bill, my friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Brenda?
Good. I apologize for that little hiccup. So I was trying to share something from my mobile device onto StreamYard. And when I joined StreamYard from my phone, it thought it was I was the host. So when I ended it from my phone on the first live stream, it ended the entire broadcast, and I had to start another broadcast. So, the good thing is I put myself into this category of experience rich. When you are experience rich, takes a lot to ruffle your feathers, right?
Very good.
Would I have preferred it not to happen? Absolutely. But anyway, we're going to shift into your conversation here today. And Bill, I have heard your name several times coming up over the years. We reconnected, I think, a few years back and then re-engaged recently when I put out the ask for today's event. And this is a LinkedIn Live-a-thon event for experience-rich job seekers. And I asked people for suggestions, who should be a speaker? And it may have even been Kathy McCafferty-Smith who suggested you. Do you remember if that was a fact?
Yeah, I think that was probably the fact, yeah.
Yeah, very good. So Bill is going to be talking about insights from the employer side of the desk. And Bill, I have to reach down because I did pick up a copy of your book, Military Career Transition. And the book is Insights from the Employer Side of the Desk. Now, if you look closely, you're going to notice it's not cracked open yet, but I do have it on my reading shelf of books that I'm planning on reading this fall. So with that said, Bill, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you, and your business, and then we'll get into the discussion for today.
I'm glad to. Thank you so much. Yeah, Bill Kiefer. I'm an independent coach and advisor, and I work primarily with service members and military veterans and others, non-military, about the work of career transition, moving from wherever you came from to wherever you're going to. I think the unique value add that I bring is that I've been on both sides of the career transition experiment here. I was 12 years Army as an Army officer. I transitioned out unexpectedly and without warning and with no preparation, and I had a horrible experience, but I was able to regroup from that and then have a very successful 22-year career as a senior HR and talent management leader in large, complex global companies. So I'm also a licensed coach or a certified coach through Marshall Goldsmith. And that's what I do. I'm just outside of Toledo, Ohio, the great Northwest, which is cold and rainy today.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to being here, sharing a little time with you.
Awesome. Well, Bill, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull myself off a video so that we can be full view with you. And I'm going to let you take the floor for now. I'll still be on here with you. So if you have questions from the audience, I'll come in and help to navigate chat on there. And then as we get a little bit closer to the end of your time, I'll come back on screen with you. How's that sound?
Okay, great. Real quick, I want to share a PowerPoint. Can I do that?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Actually, go ahead and share that now. And what you'll see in your bottom of your screen in StreamYard, I should say, Bill, you'll see a share icon. So what I would do is pull your PowerPoint up first and then go into StreamYard and click on share. And once you've done so, let me know and you'll share it. And then I have to approve it as the StreamYard host. And then it flips up live. Now, when you do share your screen, you're not going to be able to see yourself on video, but we will still see you. Okay. So let me walk you through that.
So hopefully I did this right.
Okay. So I'm not seeing it up on screen yet. Let me know when you're there we go. Okay, now I'm going to click on add to stream. And then if I were you, Bill, I would pull that up. This is a PowerPoint, pull it up into full screen mode, because right now we're seeing like the left navigation. It's a little bit smaller, and that'll make it a little bit easier for us to see.
They're good?
Nope, I'm still seeing it in just a PowerPoint deck. Can you click on PowerPoint show where it brings it up into full screen?
Yeah, I did that.
Nope, now it went away.
Okay, hang on just a second here.
The good thing is when you're experience rich, you know that technical hiccups will happen, and we just take a breath, we pause.
Yeah, it's all good.
Them, right?
It's all good.
We'll try it again. So your PowerPoint slide deck is up.
Share
you click on share.
Share screen, window, there, share.
All right, now it's coming up. Okay, so now in your PowerPoint deck, did you bring it up to PowerPoint show?
I'm working on that.
Okay, I see your mouse. You guys watching this navigating? You're like, yep.
On my screen.
Yeah, click on it.
Yep, it's all good.
Okay, it must have opened it in a different window. So for us, we're still seeing it as the slide deck mode. So it'll still work, Bill. We've already tried this one. So let's just keep going from here, and I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, well, very good. Man, I am really, really happy to be here. And I'm going to throw a lot of insights out in our next several minutes together. I think this will be available. Brenda, you're going to make this available to folks that might want it later on, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you've emailed that over to me, I'll be able to distribute out to the attendees today. Okay,
very good. Well, first off, congratulations on y'all's career transitions. You know, whether this was your first job or you spent 30 years in a career, over the period you were in your former role, you've grown. And you're really not the same person you were before you took that most recent job. And today you find yourself in a certain kind of different place. And that's fantastic, but it can kind of be scary. And where you are being in career transition, you're going to find yourself with lots of opportunities and challenges, and there's change and uncertainty and all kind of weird emotions and a certain amount of unknowns. And for many of you, this is going to be really challenging. Now, some of this can be a piece of cake. Whatever you've done in the past has kind of prepared you to be where you are today and to successfully make the transition and land well. It's important as you find yourself in this kind of scary place, though, to focus on the opportunity. Have your eyes and ears wide open and be willing to do the work that needs to be done. And most importantly, let others help you along the way. So as Brenda said today, I'm going to spend a few minutes sharing a few thoughts, or insights from the employer side of the desk, content from the book that I wrote, which is targeted at the military, but I've civilianized the content to hopefully add some value for all of us gathered today. So you'll see that these are all numbered. They are not sequential. They're numbers out of the book. So first, some ideas about the general business insights and the culture that exists in the business world when you're a transitioning person. It's important to remember that employers have got work to do, and they want people that are going to fit and add value to their team. You see, the career transition isn't a transition for the employer. It's just another open job. And if you can remember that from the employer's perspective, they're looking for people that can do the work they need done and that are going to fit well and add value to the team, I think it gives you a great focus to kind of navigate through some of the challenging bits. Next, it's important to remember that job openings exist because employers have unfilled business needs, not because you need a job. Okay, so their motivation is different than yours. You want a job, you want a career, you want that next step in your professional journey. Employers don't share the same purpose. They have work that needs to get done. But if you can focus on and remember that these openings exist to help fill those business needs, you're going to be one step closer to success on your journey. It's important to remember that while it's frustrating, sometimes business conditions change and employers might suspend a job opening. Now, sometimes they may reopen it and sometimes it's gone forever. You may never know how important that you don't get too wed to one opportunity, because that opportunity may go away. So strive to keep several options open. And I always joke with folks, I says, you need to keep networking and keep your job search going until you collect your first paycheck from that new job. It's also important to recognize that organizations have a life cycle. Some organizations are in a launch or a startup, and some are growing and expanding, and some are achieving some stability. Many are in a mature operating state. Some wind up in decline. It's important to understand what's important. I said important too many times there. It's important to understand what's needed in each of these phases, because they each need different kind of capabilities and characteristics. And think about what you bring to the table that can help them along the way. Perhaps you're someone who's very experienced in a launch and startup kind of a world, and you'd be a great add to a company that's launching or starting up. Or perhaps you're somebody who's really good at optimizing existing processes and such. So maybe somewhere in the stability or maturity life cycle, you could be a great add. The idea here is to look at the companies beyond the job posting and to get some understanding of where they are in their life cycle and whether that's attractive to you and how you might add value to the organization. Pay is always something that people don't really like to talk about, and this might sound a little bit cold-hearted, but employers are always going to try to pay the least possible for the top quality talent. Certainly good companies are going to try to be competitive, both in the base pay and any benefits and pay at risk kind of categories, but they're always going to try to pay the least they can to get the best talent possible. It's not personal, it's just business. Employee costs are truly costs. And especially for profit businesses, they have to manage costs along the way. Your job to make sure you understand what reasonable compensation and competitive benefits are for the kind of job and the location that you're working in. Next, when you're in job search, that job search and finding that great role is your top priority. I understand it. I have transitioned 4 times from the military to the civilian world, from corporation to corporation, and then from corporate life into entrepreneurship. So I get it. It is your top priority. But as those of you that have worked in large corporations or other companies, you'll recognize, you and your job search is one tiny little data point in the entire scope of work that's going on in the employer's world. Next, it's important to remember that it's your responsibility to make it easy for employers to notice you. Be out there on LinkedIn, be active, go out and network, be in front of other folks that are in the employment and job search world. And it's your job to convince the employer that you're the best candidate to fill the opening, that you can do the work they need done, and you're going to be a great fit for the team. Be out there looking for employers, because while they might be searching talent markets, they're not specifically looking for you until they know you're on the radar. As you begin to engage with organizations, remember that our work matters to us, okay? And I know sometimes folks come in and they're maybe interviewing and they say, here's all the things I would fix and change if I were to come in and take this job. Says, you know what? Be careful how you do that. We're looking for folks that can change things and add value, but you don't want to call the baby ugly. Next, and I know this is maybe old news for some and maybe surprising to others, but even though applying online is a high volume activity, it's generally a waste of time. For salaried professional jobs, some studies will tell you that less than 5% of those jobs get hired by applying online. Those same studies will also tell you that over 80% of those jobs are hired because of networking. And many of those come from second and third tier networks. People you met know somebody who knows something about a job online. At the end of the day, people hire people. There might be an administrative process that has to be gone through, but people hire people. Reach out, connect with them, and get to know them. I can tell you in my 23-year civilian career, I have never once gotten a job without networking. It's important when you're networking in the job search to remember that if you tell folks, I'll do anything, most employers are going to say, well, then we have nothing for you. See, as you all know, employers are very busy, and the job opportunities that they're trying to get filled are there for specific reasons, as we established earlier. So if people come and say, hey, I'll do anything, then I really don't have much for you. I need to understand what kind of value you're going to be able to add. So help me help you. Give me an idea of what it is you're capable of doing. Give me an idea of what it is you want to do. And give me an idea of how you're going to add value to my organization. By and large, I think employers look for people with A's, people with the aspiration to go do something that I need done, with the ability to actually do the work I need done, that are people that are available when I need people to be here. If I need a job filled right now and you can't join me for the next 6 months, you're probably not available in the window that I need. It's also important that people are agile. The work world changes sometimes unexpectedly, and always more quickly than most of us would like. It's important that people have the ability and the agility to move with the changing conditions. And finally, we look for people that are willing to take action and do the things that need to get done. Okay? So I'm assuming most all of you have all of these. And if you have them, my challenge to you is to figure out, how are you going to let me as an employer know what your A's are and how they fit my business need. Next, our culture at our organization is what it is. It's not what yours used to be. Culture is terribly important, and we want you to be an important part of our team. And we may even want you to help us evolve our culture. But by and large, employers are not looking for somebody to come in and spend their entire time going, hey, where I was before, this is how we did it. You might have great ideas that are valuable, but be careful and be mindful that you're not trying to make us into something that you're experienced with and that you left. It's important to note, I think, that career transition falls between two worlds, your prior job and career and your future job or career. And transition itself is a very unique thing, and it's a world unto itself. There are people and processes and practices and tools and techniques that are specific to transition that you probably didn't learn in your prior job or career, and you may or may not need to employ when you land in your future job or career. They're unique to transition itself, and not understanding what those things are or skipping beyond them and going right to, hey, here's the job, I'll suggest will slow your success in your transition. You know, pilots, aircraft pilots have to do a couple things all at the same time. They need to keep their eyes on the dials to see how the systems are all working, and they need to keep their eyes on the horizon. They need to understand where they're going in the big picture. How's this relevant to career transition? Well, I think there's two things that you need to focus on in career transition. First, you got to get prepared. Like I just said, you have to understand the transition environment. You need to prepare yourself, understand who you are and what you bring into the party, understand how you define success, understand how you're going to network, and many other things. And the second bit is getting out and getting known, doing all the right things so the employment community knows you're out there and knows that you're interested and knows that you bring some capability that might just be attractive to their business and their team. Next, you know, your career shaped you. Where you came from is really your launch pad for the future. It's really important that you figure out how to leverage where you've been to get you through today, but also to help you meet the employer's needs. You know, I have work that I need to get done as an employer, and you have capabilities. If you don't help me understand how your capability suits my needs, it's going to be really hard to make you a great job offer and bring you on as a team member. So figure out where you've been, understand that your launch pad includes capabilities, and then figure out how to apply that in the future. Sometimes transition can get a little bit distracting. There's all kinds of kibbles and bits that arise, and you know, doing the dailies can sometimes get you off track from what your ultimate goal is. I've been there, done that, and I know it can be a real challenge. But it's really important you keep your eye on the ball. Remember what it is you're trying to do. Do what you have to do for the dailies, but make sure you're moving forward. You know, a gentleman I used to work for at a former company, he'd go around and meet folks, and it was a really insightful, seemingly innocent kind of a greeting. He'd walk up to anybody at any level. He goes, "How you doing today?" He goes, "Are you adding value or are you just busy?" And no matter how you answered that question, he had great follow-ups. And his point there is what you're doing adding value, and do you know that? And do you understand what we're trying to achieve in the big picture? Transition exists kind of in a world unto itself, as we've said, and the momentum and the inertia that you had at your former employer, it's gone. And transition moves at the speed of you. You have to create your own momentum. You know, one of the hardest challenges I've found when I've gone through career transition is, you know, there's very little kind of activity that's pushing me to something new unless I create the activity. So be mindful of it, and remember that if you don't do something, nothing's really likely to happen. Now, along similar lines, it's important as you go through transition to take a break before you break. You know, people will tell you that job search and career transition is a job, and I think it's most effective when you handle it as a job. But I will tell you that even the most high-performing sports cars need pit stops. You're going to need a pit stop too. Okay, don't turn it into an entire summer vacation unless you can truly afford to do that. But take a break when you need to take a break. You're working hard, you deserve it, but make sure you take a break before you break. You're going to get a ton of advice when you go through career transition. Aristotle years ago said that about some things it's not possible to make a universal statement which shall be correct. And I think he's right. You're going to get a lot of advice. Take it all in. Use what resonates. The other stuff, put it in your toolbox. It may be useful later. I came up with this little phrase a couple years ago. It says, if you want to do new work, you want to find a new job, your now work is to network. Now, your now work is that you always have to do a great job at the job you're in. And in transition, your job is to transition. That's your now work, okay? New work means learning and applying something new, add to your portfolio, add to your list of capabilities, add to your set of tools, and make sure you remember that without a good network, all of your great now work and the good new work goes unnoticed because there's no network to share it with. Most often, networks will not come out and find you. You need to reach out and create a network and work your way into other existing networks. So if you want to do new work, remember that your now work is to network. So what is networking? There's a lot of definitions out there, but I'll suggest the one that works best for me is that networking is simply a conversation with a purpose. You're going to meet somebody new, whether virtually or face-to-face, and you need to understand what your overall purpose is. Remember earlier I said, help me help you? If you know what you're looking for, make the introductions and let people know what you're looking for. If you're new to this and not unsure of where you're going or what your overall purpose is, maybe your sole purpose at that day, at that time, is just to break the ice and get used to shaking somebody's hand and saying hello. But at the end of the day, networking, in my mind, is simply a conversation with a purpose. And the more clarity you have about your purpose overall and your immediate purpose, the more effective networking can be. So we now know what networking is. Well, how do I do it? Now, this is a bit of an eye chart, but I'll suggest you have to start with you. Understand who you are, what you're bringing to the party, how you define success, and then go practice your networking with people you know, people you're comfortable with. Go shake a hand. It may seem silly at first, but practice makes perfect, right? Skilled athletes don't get good without practice. Great speakers don't get good without practice, so on and so on. And when you meet with those people you know, ask them for 2 or 3 names of other people they might know that you can talk to. And continue doing that until you're comfortable and effective in meeting all new people, okay? So how do you do it? It's really quite simple. Have a pleasant greeting. Have a clear, concise, complete introduction. Pay attention. Listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, I always say. When the time is right, professionally make your ask or share your information, and make sure you ask for another meeting, another call. Ask them if there's somebody else they might recommend you network with, and make an offer to help them. Now, you may not know what that help really looks like, but make an offer to help the other folks, okay? There is a networking hierarchy, and I want to be mindful of time and not go long here. But remember that initial contact, folks, eventually the networking relationship can get better, deeper, more valuable, and more effective, okay? It's important to note that talent acquisition, recruiting, and interviewing early on is about screening people out. It's not personal. It's a way to manage volume. It's also important to note that referrals work. If somebody I know and trust recommends you, I'm going to listen. If they're relevant, if the conversation is relevant to what we're doing, we have a good relationship and they have a great reputation, you're going to get looked at, and you'll probably get a call, and you'll probably have a conversation. When you get to the interview, remember that the interview begins the second you hit my property. So be nice to everybody, because I'm going to ask them about you. When you're interviewing, look me in the eyes and smile, because it really does make a difference. And remember to answer all of my asks. You know, the job description is a list of things that the employer is asking for. If you can answer all my asks, you're going to convince me that you're a good person to potentially do the work I need done and fit well and add value to my team. Now, you may have done everything right and still not have gotten selected. Make sure you respond professionally. Don't burn a bridge, because we might just remember you. And if that memory is positive, we might have a different, even better job for you now or sometime in the future. And finally, celebrate your success. But remember, an offer letter is a business document. It's not a love letter. It's a business document with terms and conditions, and you need to treat it as such. So I know that was a lot of stuff, and I know I went really fast. I do want to be mindful of time here. So thank you all. Thank you all. Does anyone have any questions that we can handle?
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to pull this off of screen so you can see me coming back up on screen. Can you see me now? Can you hear me okay?
I cannot.
Uh-oh.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Can't see me. Okay, I did stop.
But that's my problem, not yours.
No, can hear
Okay.
me. That's half the battle. Want to make sure you can see me here too. In the bottom where it says share, can you stop your share? I've stopped it for the viewers.
I think I did.
Okay. At any rate, I just put a comment below. If you guys have any questions for Bill, you can ask those now. Feel free to pop your questions into chat. And it takes about 30 seconds, Bill, just so you know, from the time I say leave a question, if you have a question in chat, to the time they can hear me saying it. And then it takes them a couple questions to a couple seconds to ask that as well. While we're waiting for those to come in, I see Nicole is in the green room. So I just want to pop Nicole up on screen. Can you give me a thumbs up if it's okay with you, Nicole, if I pop you up on screen? I never like to surprise people because sometimes I'm like fluffing my hair or doing my lipstick. Oh, I'm on screen. Nicole, can you see and hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Perfect. You sound great. I'm going to put you back into the green room, Nicole, and I'll bring you back in just a few minutes as we wrap up the conversation here. All right. So, Bill, I do see a question coming in from, let's see, this is from Pam. And Pam's saying, what do you do with companies who tell you that you're a finalist and then ghost for weeks on end? What's your advice to Pam on that?
Yeah, what I would say is, you want to follow up in reasonable intervals. If they gave you some idea when you might have an answer, if that time passes, reach out, ask them, where are we at? Is any more information you might need? And if it gets clear that they're truly ghosting you, move on to your next opportunity. Okay. Don't hang on to a ghost. Okay. If they truly are not getting back with you, they may be busy. You certainly don't want to be rude or unprofessional. But what you definitely want to do is move on and keep those other opportunities live and moving forward.
There you go. I mean, I like that. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just got busy, but if you're reaching back and they're still not responding, I mean, there's many opportunities out there. So moving on. So as we wrap our time here today, Bill, I have your LinkedIn profile pulled up on screen right over here. And then your LinkedIn URL is just below over here. Awesome. Are you open to accepting invitation requests from people who join? If they invite you next? Okay. And I always like to tell people, when you visit Bill's profile, make sure in your invitation to connect, you use that add a note option. Mention that you saw Bill on today's LinkedIn Live-a-thon event. If there was something that he shared that was helpful for you, definitely mention that in the invitation as well. And Bill, any final comments, anything you'd like to offer to the audience before we wrap here?
Yeah, you know what? The last thing I'd like to say is, even though transition can be tough, it's really, really important to keep a positive attitude. And even if you're having a tough day, if you're out interviewing or networking, put on the best version of you can, because people remember how you present yourself. Be positive, get out there. People want you to be want positive people to be part of their teams. And thank you, by the way, Brenda. It's fantastic. It's a great event. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Well, I so appreciate you joining and making the time. We had a couple little hiccups, but we worked through them. I think it's important that we communicate with each other. We kind of said, here's what's happening, right? And we made the audience feel as comfortable as we can. That's all we can do, right, Bill?
Very good. No, that's absolutely right. And it's kind of how it goes. Transition is not a straight line path to success. And, things happen and you just got to deal with them and move forward. And for Tom Daniels, who I see put something in the chat, I'm up for coffee whenever you are, buddy.
I see Tom saying, when are we getting that cup of coffee? Hey, Tom, nice to see you. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you again, Bill. I'd love it if you could join us on the LinkedIn live stream. There may be some additional questions or comments that we didn't get to. And if the audience is viewing here today, if you loved the presentation from Bill, please leave comments in chat. He'll continue to be able to see those. How's that sound, Bill?
That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Pick up a copy of my book also.
Yeah, there you go. I did drop the link into the chat, and I will include that in the playback as well for those folks that are interested in picking up a copy of that.
Okay, very good. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank
All
you,
right,
Bill.
thank
All right, we're going to take Bill off camera here and give me just a second. I'm kind of doing the piloting and the co-piloting. I wish I had a camera behind me so you guys could see kind of all what's happening in here. And my daughter's in the background. She's bored. So if you can think of things that Charlotte should do, let us know, because they can see you right now, just so you know. So her school lost powers, and we lost internet access at my house. So we're kind of we're doing the best we can, right? And I want to move into our 1 o'clock segment and speaker right now, Nicole Dunbar. Nicole, how are you doing here today?
I'm doing amazing. So excited to be here. Yay.
Yay. I am so excited to have you on. And Nicole is going to be sharing with us time-saving search strategies for the experience-rich professional. And before we get into that discussion, Nicole, I'm trying to remember if someone introduced us, if we started interacting. No, it was the last LinkedIn Live-a-thon. My mental Rolodex was kind of turning, and I was like, oh, I remembered. The last LinkedIn Live-a-thon, I was looking for speakers in the last segment, and I said, who do you know who's available? Did someone suggest you, or did you see it and jump in? Do you remember?
Yeah, so we have a shared connection that pinged me on LinkedIn and said, hey, Brenda Meller's looking for speakers. And I actually had an event that afternoon. So I was kind of already preparing to speak to folks in career transition. And I'm like, okay, I got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, so that's how it happened. And it was really awesome. So I'm glad I had a chance to do that.
Well, I'm glad to bring you back here today so you get a fuller time slot in the presentation. And we're here today for a LinkedIn Live-a-thon for experience-rich job seekers. And just remind everyone who's on the session here today, we did have a couple of little hiccups, but the good thing is I'm going to, in the magic of post-production, I'm going to string this all together and keep it as one clip, but I'm also going to clip out every speaker's presentation. If you join my VIP email list by going to mellermarketing.com/subscribe, I will send you the playback links, including Nicole's presentation that we're going to do here next. So with that said, Nicole, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and I'm going to take myself off of video, but I'll still be in the StreamYard, but that way we can have the emphasis on you, Nicole. If you ask the audience questions or towards the end, I'll come back on camera. Does that sound okay to you?
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right, Nicole, the floor is over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's such a pleasure to be here with you all. For those that I am meeting for the first time, my name's Nicole Dunbar. I'm a certified life coach. I'm a career and business coach, and I am the founder of Congruency International. And I think it's helpful to share a little bit of context about my background, because I believe it will provide a stage for why I'm giving you the information that I am going to be providing. And so over the past 10 years, I've had the opportunity to work with literally thousands of people that are in career transition. As of last year, well over 1,100 people one-on-one in career transition over that time period of years. And there's no way that you talk to so many people that are going through the process of career transition that you don't start to see certain patterns that are happening for people. And for me, just the way I think in numbers, I think in pictures, and I'm just kind of that a little bit more analytical in that way, that I can start to see if we can predict some simple behaviors that stop most people at different stages in the career transition process and start to solve for that on the front end. What happens is the time it takes to go from I don't know how to do this job search thing to, oh my goodness, I just said yes to the dress, starts to reduce 50% of the time, 70% of the time that somebody has taken. So I've had people that I've had the chance to work with that had been looking for a year, 2 years. And after we just started to really streamline and hone in on what the issues were in their job search, cut away all of the fluff, cut away all of the things that aren't necessary, cut away all of the strategies that worked 10 years ago or 20 years ago when they last did a job search, or whatever the situation is, cut away all of the things that work generally, but do not work for their type of role. We were able to get them to their next role in a fraction of a time, literally eye-popping time landings for roles. And I realized that this is something that if I could share this with more people, we'd be able to see more people land. And so I'm going to take a couple of nuggets from that kind of philosophy, just kind of giving you all that background. and now kind of share my subject today. As Brenda said, and you see it on the screen here, it's about time-saving search strategies for the experience-rich professional. If I were to tell you what my sweet spot is, it is helping identify career transition strategies that help people land their next job faster, with less stress, and at a higher salary than they ever thought possible. And so I've got really 4 topics, and I like to kind of have a conversation back and forth. I know I won't be able to see all of the chat immediately, but I do encourage you all to be responding to each other. And I know Brenda will be sharing some of the comments as well, and you'll be really active in the chat. But I hope that you'll start to share some of this as you're going through. The first topic that I want to tell you about is, or my first talking point is don't be Alice, right? So if you're looking to really streamline the amount of time it's taking to land your next role, you don't want to be Alice. Now, what do I mean by Alice, right? Now, many of you, if not everybody here, has probably heard or read or seen the book, the movie, the cartoon Alice in Wonderland, right? Lewis Carroll's famous children's literature on this young woman who falls into a hole and ends up in this world called Neverland, right? Or Underland? Well, Wonderland. There's a few different versions of the movie and book I'm thinking about right now. And in this movie or book, Alice meets all of these very odd characters as she's walking through this world that she has never been in, and everything is upside down. And one of the characters she meets while she is lost on a path is called the Cheshire Cat. And this cat is talking to her, and she's asking the cat for directions. And she basically says to the cat, "Can you please just tell me where to go?" And the cat says, "Well, that all depends on where you want to be." And Alice basically says to this cat, "Oh, well, wherever." And he says to her, "Just keep walking. You'll eventually end up wherever." And, we listen to that story and you kind of laugh and you realize, well, okay, I guess that's dumb, but it's kind of true. If you don't care where you're going to end up, you can just keep walking and you will end up somewhere, right? And what I find when I start talking with folks in career transition is that many times, one of the very first things that will absolutely bog down the job search is having a lack of clarity about the actual job target, job title, and possibly in some instances, the industry that makes sense for you in this season of your career transition. In fact, I actually went as far because I do regularly offer throughout the month different workshops from my social media network. I started it as a result of 2020 and all of the things that we were all dealing with. And I realized that the things that I was doing for my corporate clients and some of my private clients, I wanted to really share that with the community at large that has been in career transition. So actually, we'll tell you about an event I have coming up later on this month. But ultimately, as I was going into these events, I started to ask the question, how many people have crystal clear on their job target? And again, I can't see your comments right now, but I'm going to ask you right now in the chat, if you haven't already shared this, for those that are feel comfortable and free to share, go ahead and list what are the job targets that you're going after right now. And I'm just going to give you a chance to kind of share that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's good for you to get comfortable with saying out loud the type of role or types of roles that you're targeting. And number two, you never know who is in the chat that might actually have a similar interest and could start to do some networking. I know Brenda's the queen of getting people together for networking. So this is something that I'm sure she'll make opportunities for that to happen as well. Awesome. I see some comments coming through already.
Nicole,
Excellent.
we're hidden. I'm so sorry. We have to you have to go over top of them now because it's a long list.
That's okay. That's okay. No problem. No problem. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So you all continue to do that in the chat as you're going through. But ultimately, the idea is getting crystal clear about what your job target is. When I started to ask that question in the beginning of my workshops, I started to realize that 60 to 70% of the people on average, and I'm talking about hundreds of people over a 3-month period, that they weren't crystal clear. It was a little blurry. And I'm going to tell you, it is hard to hit a target that you can't identify. In fact, to a certain extent, I see some of folks that have been with me before. Good to see Cheryl and others that are coming through. But I mean, I'll just say this very quickly. It's very difficult to actually hit a target that you can't see. It really is. It's actually almost impossible to hit a target that you can't see or identify. In fact, if I can tell you quite clearly why this is important for those of you that are going through career transition, perhaps for the first time, and perhaps it's not something that you've done in a little while, it's because so many times, dependent upon the role that you're targeting, where you're going to go to find that job, the job search strategies that you're going to use are going to be very different, right? Point and case. Can you understand? I'm sure you all can understand. I think one of the first ones that came up was somebody that was looking in the event management space. I hope you can understand that there's a very different strategy and approach that one might take to a job that is an entry-level event coordinator versus a director of events or VP of events and programming for a global multinational company. Those roles pay differently. Those roles will be advertised in different places. The strategies that one might use to find one of those jobs versus the other may be very different. For that first one, the event coordinator, you can probably get that off of Indeed, maybe LinkedIn, some job board. You could possibly even find that at your local coffee shop on one of those community boards. Like it's a different place that you're going to find that job. That VP of global events and programming, that might be with a recruiter. That might be happening through networking. That might be happening through very specific communities where those sorts of jobs are posted or discussed, right? And so everything is predicated upon what sort of roles that you're targeting. So I'm going to ask you to evaluate what you just put into the chat there. If you put into the chat an area or a function, but you haven't necessarily put the job title or titles that you're targeting, is it possible that you could be a little bit of Alice right now? Right. So I encourage you just to think through that. So that's number one. I want to invite you not to be Alice because so much of your job search will get so much simpler if you will be clear on the types of roles. How you put your materials together will also be influenced by that. Okay, so number one, we talked about don't be Alice. And I love what Bill said, the speaker that was before me. I was listening to him and I was so virtually like high-fiving him because I literally heard him saying so many things that I could absolutely echo. That clarity about the job search, the clarity about the targets is so important because that's going to be important for you to language to the hiring manager, to the HR professional or recruiter that's going to be presenting you to the hiring manager as to why you're an obvious choice for their open positions. Okay, so let me keep going. So we've talked about don't be Alice. Number two, make numbers your friend. Number two, this is your second strategy, time-saving strategy for those of you, my experience-rich job seekers. Make numbers your friend. Now, for some of you, you've been in workshops with me before. We've kind of met somewhere along the way. I saw a couple of familiar faces there in the audience. So some of you know that I think in numbers, I think in pictures, and this is going to be a working session. I'm not just going to be a talking head here. So if you've got a place to take notes, hopefully most of you do, I'm going to invite you to take some notes right now. And this is going to be probably more appropriate for those that are actively in job search right now. But if you're thinking about it, if you're preparing to go into job search, because according to the metrics, north of 40% of North Americans, specifically folks in the US, professionals are contemplating a career transition of some type within the next 6 months, right? That's what the numbers say. You know, I've seen stats that are even higher than that, but let's just stick with the lower number for conservative reasons right now. So if it is on the mind of many people, this idea of shifting and revisiting what they do for work and how they go about doing it, understanding some of the ways you can measure whether or not you're successful could be beneficial. I'm going to give you a little taste of some of that I do with my clients that I'm working with. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, for those of you that are in career transition right now, I'd like you to think about, on average, how many jobs you're putting, how many job applications you're submitting on a weekly basis. And while you're thinking about that, again, I hope you have your own notepad somewhere that you can take some notes here. And so the first number I'm going to ask you to really be looking at is every week since I've started my job search, on average, how many jobs am I applying for on a weekly basis? That's number one. The next number I'm going to ask you to do is kind of like an extrapolation of that, right? Since I've started my job search, overall, how many jobs have I applied to? Just roughly, how many jobs overall have I applied to? All right. Now, the third number that you're going to put down is, of the jobs that I have applied to, what percentage or how many, let's start with this one. This will be simpler. How many have called me back for a first round phone screen? Now, just to be clear, This is you submitted your resume to an open position, either on the company's website or on LinkedIn job board, on Indeed job board, one of those, and somebody saw it, saw your resume, responded to you via phone or email or messaging and said, we'd love to schedule a phone screen or an interview or a Zoom meeting or whatever the next step for them would be based on your resume. How many times has that happened? Giving you a little bit of time. I know this is a little bit of math here I'm asking some of you to do. And let's just stick with those three numbers for right now. Do you know that if you have a basic understanding of your numbers, your metrics in job search, that you can start to assess the effectiveness of what it is that you're doing at a very high level, which can help guide you into how you should be adjusting what you're doing moving forward. Okay, so let's just run some sample numbers here. So if you said to me, Nicole, I've been applying to 2 jobs a week for the past month, right? So 2 times 4 weeks in a month, that's 8 jobs. Over the past month, I've applied to 8 jobs. Let's actually make it a little bit longer. Let's say over the past year, on average, I've applied to 2 jobs a week. And I'm going to use my calculator because I have no shame, right? So one second. So 2 jobs a week times 52 weeks, right? That's 52 weeks in a year. So I have applied to just over 100 jobs in the past year. And of those 100 jobs, 104 jobs, I actually have had 5 callbacks, right? So I'm going to divide 5. I want a percentage. What percentage of the jobs that I've applied for have actually called me back? In that example I just gave, I have a 5% response rate. Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, okay, what does that mean? Why do I care about that? Now, remember at the beginning, I shared with you that I've had the opportunity to work with well over 1,000 people one-on-one in career transition. There's no way that you're going to work with that many people and not see certain patterns. And I'm just going to share with you, and these are numbers that are effective as of the end of 2019, early 2020. It actually gets even better as we move into 2021 and beyond that. But ultimately, a full-time job search, I don't even concern myself with a candidate that is getting a minimum of 10% response rate to their applications. Now, what does that mean to you, right? What that actually means, and let me check my time. Okay, we're doing okay for time. I've got just 2 more topics to share, and it'll be quick, and I want to leave time for questions. But what that means to you ultimately is that a full-time job search, most of the time when you're applying for jobs, you're going to hear crickets. You might very well hear, we don't want you. You might find out that the position closed. You might even find out that somebody that is not qualified as you, that does not have the experience, the education, the training, or the skills that you have, got the job because they're so-and-so's nephew and they can't show up to Thanksgiving dinner unless their nephew has a job. What does that mean? There are so many things in career transition that we have absolutely no control over. So the energy that we're investing into the things that we have no control over, instead of honing in on the 10 to 20% response rate that we are getting and adjusting as much as we can, is really where we might have the missed opportunity. And so if you're allowing the fact that the vast majority of the time you're not hearing anything to weigh you down, that could really be bogging down your job search overall. Because how many of you know that the job search is energetic, right? It is very emotionally draining to be doing this job search thing, right? It impacts what we feel about our value as human beings just because of how we are conditioned, particularly in the Western world, about our value and our value as an individual being so connected to what we do as opposed to who we are. That's a whole other topic. So we don't have time for that one today, but thinking about those sorts of things. So I really love to help my candidates and my clients that I work with really hone in on what they can control, managing their emotional and energetic state, and focusing on their results that they're getting and how to tweak it. If when you do your numbers, you're getting less than 10% response, then that's indicating that something about your resume, your presentation, and the qualifications that you are showing for the jobs you're applying to is off. it's off, right? Because a minimum 10% response is telling me that the resume you're putting out there in the marketplace is working, number one. And number two, what you are actually applying for, you're qualified for, right? So that's the next thing, making numbers your friend. And then there's a few other metrics that I take my clients through that help us even hone in even further on where the process is breaking down. But that's a good one that if we never speak, each of you can take that from this session. See, I've got just a minute or two more, so I'll just share this one. And this one actually segues nicely into the one I just mentioned. Know what works. That's number 3. So we said, don't be Alice. Number 2 is make numbers your friend. And number 3 is know what works, right? What is going to work for you? There are certain strategies. If you are an experienced, rich job seeker, and again, I heard Bill say this, so I feel like he just took that whole part from me. I don't even need to go into detail on it because he really shared some really important things that I want to just highlight. One of the things that is going to work best for most experienced, rich job seekers is going to be networking. It works for everybody, but particularly for those that are north of 40, 50, 60, because you have more professional experience than others. You know more senior managers and VPs. You know more directors. Just because your kid or your grandkid might have a bigger Instagram following, that doesn't mean that they have anybody that's in a decision-making position. So don't confuse social networking with your professional network. So I invite you to really think about, who do I know that is a decision maker or connected to a decision maker for the type of role that, because I'm no longer Alice, I'm crystal clear that I actually want. And the type of company, again, because I'm not Alice, I did the work, I did the research that is going to be appropriate for my next type of role. So getting clarity around that will help you have a more effective networking strategy than the spray and pray networking, which who has time for that? That's what takes 6 months or a year. If you're clear, your networking doesn't take 6 months or a year. It takes 6 weeks to 2 months, right? So that's the next thing, knowing what works. Networking works. Contracting to hire works. Contract roles, especially in this market right now, you all, certain roles are very appropriate for contracting and very easy to get a nice response to that. Boomerang works, right? That's going back to a company that you worked with earlier on in your career at a higher level, right? That's going to work for some clients, for some candidates very well, depending upon how you left that company and the sort of relationships that you had there, whether they do rehiring. So that's another one that works. The fourth and final one that I'm going to mention to you today is knowing yourself. And I'm just going to leave it here and open it up for questions. I might only have just a couple of minutes of questions. I want to honor the schedule here. 5 items that I'm going to ask you to assess for you as an experienced, rich job seeker. And I remember I was listening into one of the sessions earlier today, and I heard the speakers talk about the fact that ultimately everybody is going to land. It just may be a matter of time. But the way you reduce it is to understand what is the thing that might not necessarily be working to your benefit. Is it your skills? Do you need to update your skills? Is that the issue based on what the market is asking for today for the type of role you're targeting? The second thing you may want to look at, is it your materials? Right? Is your resume, your LinkedIn profile, the marketing materials that you're using, presenting and making it crystal clear to the hiring manager or the recruiter that you are clearly qualified for the role that you're applying for? Don't make them guess or figure it out, because they're not going to, or they're going to guess wrong. The third thing, is it your preparation? Are you walking into interviews unprepared, unaware of how to appropriately interview, how to present yourself, even what the company does, right? Number 4, is it your effort? In the example I gave you when I was running the numbers, I was talking about 2 applications a week. If you're my client, we're doing so much more than that. We're talking about anywhere, if you're working full time, I like you to be doing at least 5 job applications on a weekly basis every single week. And if you're not working, there's going to be even more that we would be talking about based on what your goals and your target are, right? And again, there's some adjustment there, but ultimately, we can either get there in a year or get there in 2 or 3 months. And it all depends on the amount of work you're willing to put in. And then the fifth and final thing, particularly for this audience, but everybody, is the issue your mindset? Is it the way that you're thinking about the job search? Is it the way that you're thinking about your skill set? Is it the way you're thinking about your age, right? Is it any of those things? Because ultimately, you can have the best skills in the world, but if every time you go into an interview, you are already assuming that they are going to not choose you because you are whatever the age is that you've decided is no longer whatever the headlines are saying it is, then I guarantee that nobody can help you if you have already decided that you're going to go in there feeling that they're not going to choose you because of your age. I could tell so many stories, but I don't have time for that today. But those are the things. So if I just had to recap it, number 1, don't be Alice. Number 2, make numbers your friend. Number 3, know what works for a job search strategy standpoint. And number 4, know yourself. And that is what I have for you today.
Wow, that was wonderful. I mean, if we were in person, I would say round of applause, Nicole. I mean, I love so many things about your presentation, the advice, the strategies, your positive, inspirational approach. I also, as a host, I appreciated how I heard you saying, I know I've got to wrap soon, because I always get a little bit of panic, like they know I'm going to come in, right? Like I don't want to interrupt, when you're coming in there, but so many great pieces of advice that were in there. If you guys have any questions, you can drop those into chat right now. While I'm waiting to see if there's any questions, I see Michelle is in the background in the green room. Michelle, can you give me a thumbs up? Is it okay if I bring you up on camera real quick? All right, we're just going to do a quick audio check. Michelle, can you see and hear us?
I can see and hear you. Hi, Nicole.
Hi. All right, Michelle, I'm going to pull you off of screen right now. We'll bring you back on in just a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. All right, great. And that's a little audio check. As we're kind of trying to do this as one single event throughout the day, it's important to make sure I've got the next person queued up and keep on going over there. So let's see. I think we had a couple of comments coming in during your talk here today and some feedback as well. Linda saying really great advice, enjoyed it. Lisa, I so agree with you. Mindset is so important. And Nicole, thank you for focusing on that. Any advice for people that are struggling with mindset and maybe they're in this funk of being told no and they're feeling like age discrimination is an issue? What would you say to those folks?
Yeah, I love this. I'm going to tackle the second question first. And I have an event that I do, and I'm actually hosting it next week. It's called Over 50 Job Search Tips. And it's this idea that and I'm not interested in gaslighting anybody about age discrimination because it is real. It is real. I would love to be in a world as a woman who's an immigrant, who lives in the South, who is educated in the North, who is of African descent. I would love to say that there's no discrimination, but this isn't Candyland. This is Earth, right? And so discrimination is real, number 1. However, when I hear age discrimination, I always ask, is it really discrimination or are you actually truly overqualified? If you're applying for a job that you could have done 20 years ago in your sleep and you're bringing all your experience, your education, and your training for a job that requires 3 years and you've got 20, you're overqualified, sir. You're overqualified, ma'am. And you cost more, and appropriately so. Right? Is it discrimination or are they concerned that you're not teachable and coachable? And is it true? Right? Can anybody tell you anything? Or have you decided, because I've done it this way for the last 20 years, this is gosh darn how I'm going to do it and I'm not going to change now. No one wants to manage that person, not me.
Good point. Good point. So one more question here, and then I think we've got to wrap up. This is from Kim. How many applications did you say that they should be applying for each week if you're unemployed?
I did not say. You've got to come to the workshop for that. So I will tell you that at least if you are working, at least 5. What I don't want to see is 50 because there's no way you're putting quality resumes out there if you're doing 50 a week. Not even possible.
Okay,
the event will be on my LinkedIn within the hour. We didn't have a chance to get it up there yet, but it'll be up there for you all to attend if it works for your schedule.
Okay, perfect. Did you send it to me? Do you want me to pull it up on screen?
I did not send it, but I will. I'd love to.
Okay. Yeah, if you can, and then I'll add it into the playback link for those people that are joining us a little bit late or that want to get access to the playback. And by the way, I have your LinkedIn profile up on screen here. Nicole, are you open to accepting invitations from people that are watching the session here today?
I would love that. And if you do come, I do have a little gift for the folks that are here. I've put aside over the next 30 days, a period of a number of one-on-ones for folks that would like to do a consultation with a little bit of a strategy assessment. And they just need to tell me that they were at the LinkedIn Live, Brenda Meller's LinkedIn Live. Send me a message when you connect with me, telling me that, and I'll make sure that you get one of the spots. There's only 20. They will probably go pretty fast, but I'd love to be able to spend some time and just talk about your strategy. There's no reason for a job search to take 2 years or 6 or 9 months or 12 months. It's not true. I've seen it way too many times. On average, it can happen much faster, especially in this market if we're working a strategy.
Yeah, I love it. And I think having a strategy is so important and
Mhm.
so great advice here today, Nicole. So thank you. So guys, remember when you invite her to connect, mention in your note in the invitation that you saw her on today's LinkedIn Live-a-thon.
Yes.
If there was a point that is going to be memorable forever for you, I remember like the Don't Be Alice. And I was like, who is Alice? I'm like, oh, that's right. The Alice in Wonderland. Remember when Alice said, where do I go? I don't know where I want to go, but how do I get there? Like,
Mhm.
remember that point. I'm going to remember that forever. The don't be an Alice type of a point. So Nicole,
Good.
thank you so much. As we wrap up here today, any final comments, anything you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I will say is be encouraged. It can happen. I think if you can anchor the emotions of this in real metrics that can measure, you can measure whether this is working. We can anchor your success or what's happening in the search with actual numbers that can make sense to logical and thinking people. And we can, it is possible. I've done it hundreds of times with candidates, and you are no different. We can make it happen.
All right. Well, thank you so much, my friend Nicole. And I would love it if you could jump into the LinkedIn chat. There may be some folks leaving comments that we didn't get to today, or there might be a couple of questions out there as well, if that'd be okay with you.
Of course, we'll do it.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
All right. And if you guys loved Nicole's talk, please leave a comment for her in chat. Leave that feedback for her. Let her know that you enjoyed the presentation here today. That would be great. And we're going to move on into our final speaker for today. Let me just pull the topic up on screen, and then I'm going to pull Michelle up on screen as well. It's kind of interesting when you do this event solo. Michelle, you might appreciate this as well. When you're doing everything solo, sometimes it's kind of coordinating, the piloting, the co-piloting, everything that's coming along here.
Exactly.
As I'm bringing the topic up on screen, I'll bring it up in just a second. I just want to tell people a little bit about how we met each other. I think it was through Liz J. Simpson's group. Is that right? Or did we meet each other before then even? Do you remember?
I think we met through Liz's group, and then we realized we're both on Clubhouse. And like, wait,
No,
you're
right?
that Brenda.
Right. It's funny how, and there was a speaker, who was it? Was it Annette earlier? I was trying to think the same thing. I'm like, how do we know each other? And she's like, it was from Clubhouse. And I'm like, you're right. I completely forgot. And I feel like we know each other's voice. We've been seeing each other. We keep crossing paths. And as I was looking to build this event, I was looking up profiles for people I know. And I looked at yours. I'm like, oh, this would be perfect. We got into a call, and I kind of talked about this event. This is a LinkedIn Live-a-thon for the experienced rich job seeker. And I said, hey, would you like to come on, Michelle? And you said, yeah. And I said, pick your topic. And you said, let's talk about, I gotta fix my punctuation because it's going to bother me. You said, let's talk about ageism, assessing your recruiting process for bias. So this is kind of a talk that's being directed towards the employer side, the recruiter side of organizations, right, Michelle?
It is.
Before we get into that, why don't you take a few minutes, tell people a little bit about who you are in your business, and then we'll get into that conversation.
Well, as she already said, my name, Michelle. I'm actually a former civil engineer, built the power grid, did technology transfer, even technical sales in my career. What I do differently is I started a tech company to really focus on the bias that Black, Latinx, and Indigenous women who are experienced, right? Scientists, engineers, and technology professionals, really connecting them to management roles. And so ageism plays into part of the bias that I work with within my tech company. So we look at diversity and inclusion, we look at recruitment, we look at retention, and we look at data, so people analytics, and really bring that together to build inclusive workplaces. And that's from the talent acquisition side, the recruiting side, all the way through the end of the employee life cycle when they go out and retire or they exit that organization. So that's what I do here at my company, Positive Hire.
Wonderful. Well, let's kick off the topic. And what I'm going to do, Michelle, is I'm going to pull myself off of screen so that we can give you full screen to lead us into the talk here. I'll still be in on the StreamYard. So as you ask questions for the audience, I'll pull some of their comments up on screen. I don't think you're doing a slide deck, though. You're just doing a talk. Am I remembering correctly?
I do have a slide deck.
Okay. Do you want to share that on screen? I'll walk you through how to do that now.
Sure.
If you have your slide deck up on screen, in StreamYard at the bottom, you should see a share icon. You'll have to click on that, and then it'll ask you, what do you want to share? Once you've done so, then I, as the meeting host here, have to enable that share, and then it'll pull it up in large screen mode. So we'll give it just a second here to walk you through that process. and then we'll get going. And while we're waiting for that, I just want to remind everyone, if you're watching here today, if you join us a little bit late, or maybe you didn't pick up in the second stream, or you're watching the first stream, we had some hiccups that were happening. I am going to be sending a playback link to everyone. If you join my VIP email list, go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe and just sign up for that. There is a double opt-in process. So when you sign up, you're going to get an email back from me saying, hey, did you sign up? That helps me to remove spam, and it also helps you so that someone can't sign up for my email list and have you joining onto that. So go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe. Check your email box for that confirmation message. If you're not seeing it, go in your junk folder. I'd hate for you to miss that email that's coming in there. All right, Michelle, how are we doing? Can I help you out?
Okay, yeah. So what are you seeing? Because
I'm still seeing the two of us on video right now.
So let me try. I do this all the time for myself.
But when you're in the co-host, you don't see what the host sees, and StreamYard's different than YouTube, and it's different than GoToMeeting. They're all a little bit different. So what will happen is you should have your. I don't see it yet. You have your slide deck up, and then in the bottom of StreamYard, there's a share icon. Are you seeing that share icon? Oh, there it goes. Now we got it. So let me add to stream. All right, and now I see Ageism, assessing your recruiting process for bias. Now it's large screen. You may not see that you're still on video, Michelle, but we still see you and we can hear you. So we'll give you the floor from here.
Great. Thank you so much, Brenda. If you are not a hiring manager, but you're currently looking for a job, you are in talent acquisition, recruiting, wherever you are, this information is for you, because you may have found somehow you played or impacted negatively ageism in an organization. And this is an opportunity, whether you're hunting for a new position as an experienced, rich talent, you have the opportunity to change how ageism negatively impacts people. So we're going to be talking about assessing your recruiting process for bias that is negatively impacting people that are 40, 50, 60 years and older. Okay. So we're going to do welcome and introductions, because I want to know more about you. What is ageism? Why does it matter? What does the data say? What actions you can take? And then we'll do a quick wrap up. I do want to watch the time. Okay. So like I said, Michelle Hayward, former civil engineer, founder of Positive Hire, graduated from Clemson University 21 years ago, just so you know. And I love a good Krispy Kreme lemon donut. That's my favorite. I'll do glaze, and that's about it from Krispy Kreme. In the chat, what I want you to do is share with us your name. What do you like to be called? Maybe it's Bud or Buddy, and we don't know that. It says Patricia, but you prefer Pat or Patty. Let us know. What are your pronouns? Is it they, them? Is it her, hers, he, him? Let us know. And also, where are you located? I'm in rural South Carolina. And for my theme song, it is I'm Every Woman. I'm not going to sing it. That is not my talent. And you will actually mute me if I start singing a song. Trust me on that. So I'm not old. I'm experienced, rich. My nieces and nephews saw that I had gray hair, and they started telling me, you're old like Granny. I am not old like Granny, but I do have an experience that you should definitely be taking advantage of. Or maybe not advantage, but should definitely be respecting and leveraging for your organization. So what is ageism? It is prejudice or discrimination on the grounds of a person's age. And we can see ageism in different ways. Sometimes it's, you're too young for this. You won't understand the nuances. You're too old for this. You won't understand the technology. And what is really interesting when we talk about technology, often places will say, well, or think negatively about age when it comes to technology. It is really interesting when the average age of an entrepreneur is 39 years old. That means when they developed this technology, they were 39, they would be 59 today because the technology is 20 years old. But you won't hire this person because they're too old for a technology they developed 20 years ago. I want you to think about that. The assumption is you don't know how to utilize technology for your age, but you may have been old enough. You're probably old enough to have developed the technology itself, right? That really makes sees how we bring in bias when it comes to technology and age. So what does employment data say? U.S. is now facing labor shortages while many people, especially women, remain unemployed. 1.8 million fewer women are in the labor force than before the coronavirus pandemic. But when we look at unemployment rates of Americans 65 and older, it rose by 2.5 times more in April of 2020 than it did at the peak of the Great Recession. 2.5 times more. That's saying a lot. That's a lot of people 65 and older without jobs. So what actions should employers, this is from talent acquisition, recruiters, hiring managers, diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders, be doing for experience-rich employees, those who are 40 and older when it comes to recruiting? So first, I want us to take a step back and really talk about your planning for an equitable recruiting process. How are you and your company retaining talent, especially talent 40 years and up? And you're like, wait, Michelle, what does this have to do with recruitment? If you're recruiting people that you do not know how to retain, you are throwing good money after bad. It is truly important to look inside of your organization to understand what's your age range of your employees. Do it by department, locations. Look and see where your talent is quitting, right? And what is that talent by demographics? Where is the talent being let go? Or it is on PIPs, performance improvement plans? Are they retiring out? Really look and understand that data, right, in your HRS system, and really understand what's going on with your employee base and who you're able to retain, where, and why, because that becomes important even in the recruiting process. Planning for equitable recruitment, if you're diversifying your talent pool, is a focus in 2021 and going into 2022. At what career levels is your organization focused on diversifying the talent pipeline? We see so much when it comes to early career. But are you having issues in other places, or are people not leaving your organization at higher levels, which could be really good? But you really need to understand why. And I only have why on here once. But why are you diversifying your talent pipeline at those career levels? And ask yourself this in your organization, your team, your leaders, why 5 times? So you're going to do a technique called 5 whys. You can Google that to really understand the root cause of why you think you need to be building a talent pipeline at those career levels. It's truly important to understand. And everybody in the room is probably going to have a different why, or maybe similar whys, but it is truly important to do that technique. Then you want to look at how will you and your company recruit new talent, especially with 15 plus years of work experience. So sometimes they have an MBA in there, they may have taken time off or a master's degree. And so it may not be 20, but at least 15 years. And what does that look like? Because if you aren't looking at how you're recruiting, how do you know you aren't being biased in your recruitment process? And so we're going to get into that as well. So why don't we get started? Let's look at your current recruitment process. Are you utilizing recruitment events? Are your recruitment events only at college campuses, early career fairs? Are you doing only small niche type engagement with certain organizations? Like what type of recruitment events are you doing? Are you seeing your recruitment process work well with employee referrals, or maybe it's not working very well with employee referrals? Have you created an internal employee talent pipeline? Will you bring people in at different levels in the organization? You're training and developing them to move throughout the organization so they grow and they advance their careers, right? Is that how you're set up when it comes to your recruitment process? Are you partnering with other organizations? It could be apprenticeship programs. It could be foster care, right? Because kids in foster care at 18, they're just let go and they have no place often to go. Are you partnering organizations to really understand how to build out your talent pipeline? Are you working with your local PMI or Project Management Institute and you have a certain partnership with them? There are different types of partnerships you can have, but it really, really is important to understand what are you doing to recruit talent. This is the one that irks me the most, is how do you write your job descriptions? And I will just say, writing a bad job description and then having, even if you don't have a recruiter reach out to talent, it can negatively impact your organization over a long period of time. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. So when it comes to the job description, the hiring manager and HR sometimes work together. Usually the hiring manager works alone or will ask the HR person to write it. But it should be a joint effort between the two, right? And what we often see is the job duties and the salary and the job description are not cohesive. You may find a job description that really has 3 roles in it. It has a salary that may pay for a third of that role. And the job duties encompass too much. When you're writing that job description, you're focused more on what can a candidate deliver? What are the outcomes you really need them to bring in that role? Because if you're kind of everywhere with the job description, you're nowhere with the job description. And so you really need to focus on what outcomes as a hiring manager you need this person to have. And it's like, well, they need to know how to use the software. The software, is it really necessary or is it a tool? Do you need this person to really understand how to do project management? Right? I get so many times when people are like, well, we need to know this software. And I like, walk me through the process of what they do with the software. You know what people tell me? Then we export it into Excel. So you need somebody that knows how to use Excel. Well, no, because they have to do manipulation in Excel. They're going to import it back into the system so it can create the tables. So you need them to know how to make tables in the software. Well, they have to take those charts and tables and they have to go to management and get management's buy-in. So you need somebody who knows how to negotiate and communicate effectively with management to get certain outcomes. Yes, it had nothing to do with software. Do not let technology hold you back from filling positions with experience-rich people who have great communication skills, great negotiation skills, who can run and manage teams effectively, because you believe the technology is a must when the technology is a tool. So really understand your processes and what outcomes you want the person to deliver in the job that you want them to fill. Okay. In that process, are you asking for date of birth, graduation year, years of military service, and other age identifying information? Are you requesting that? You would think, Michelle, that's illegal. You would not believe how many places still do this, and candidates don't know certain things they should not be sharing. So be sure you aren't doing this, because you're now could be bringing in bias in your recruiting process. Your marketing, diversity of people on your website, diversity of people on your brochure, words or copy on all of these platforms. And the things that even your recruiters say need not be biased. Like, oh, you did that for 15 years. So really, how long have you been working? I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I've been working long enough to have gained this set of skills and knowledge that will help me help your organization execute and increase your revenue, your sales, and positively impact the communities in which you're located, as well as your customers. That is how long I have been doing this. And so it's really important that you train your people on how to speak to candidates, right? But also it's showing up in your other marketing materials. So I kind of got into my irkiness with the job descriptions. So I want to go into this a little bit more. We do have time. What needs to be achieved in a role? What is essential outcomes for that person holding that role? What has been added on duty? So oftentimes you're trying to fill a role where somebody there was for 6 years, 16 years, 20 years, right? And they've grown like a plant in a pot. You get the plants out of the store and they're the little tiny pots. Well, their roots grow. And so you have to remove them from one pot to a larger part, and their roots grow some more. But what did the person do that was essential to the organization? They had added on duties, and you may have found this person over a 10, 12-year period was actually doing 3 roles. And now you really need to figure out who can pick up certain duties in your organization. What is the role you really need to have filled? What are the essential duties you need that person to help to have? What are added on duties because you're looking for certain outcomes? So how do you leverage your team to either help train this new employee to take on additional duties that person who is a long-term employee had? And really, how do you leverage technology at the same time to pick up some of those extra duties that were there? So you really need to drill down and understand and study the jobs that people are doing in your organization to understand what is really essential to those roles. Now, what do you need to make? Where do you need to make improvements first? Name 2 areas of improvement your company found after reviewing your current recruitment process. And why did the area require improvement? It was not a streamlined process. You had conscious bias. It was costly to maintain, etc. But really study your overall recruitment process. In your interviewing process, diversify your interview panels. You want to standardize scoring of the interviews, and you want to standardize type of interviews. You want to make sure everybody is going through the same thing. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that are differently abled that may not have broadband internet. So you may have to have some small tweaks in there to adhere to the needs of people. But for the most part, this is going to be 90% consistent for your interview process. When is your time to change? It's actually now. You're seeing accelerated retirement, which is why you have even more roles open. You have key management or subject matter expert roles that are currently open. You're encountering a shortage of candidates, and you have increased length of time to fill roles. If you're not filling any of these, you did a good job. You have a great culture in your organization. People love working there, and they're not going anyplace. But if you're encountering 2 of the 4 of these, you need to be assessing your recruitment process and how are you retaining your talent right now. Okay, I want to know your thoughts and takeaways. What surprised you? What resonated with you? And what are actions you on the individual level, on your company level, can you take right now? So let me know in the chat, what are your thoughts? What surprised you in what I said about how employers should be approaching really focusing on removing ageism in their recruiting process? What resonated with you? And what are some actions, if you're a leader in the workplace, that you're going to take? In conclusion, this is just the beginning. Do you see the value in reviewing your current recruitment process to make it equitable? Your recruitment process has several steps, and not all of them may need to be changed, right? Not all of them. But how do you know? You have to really sit down and do an assessment. So what I'm offering today to any employers out there, whether you're in the D&I space, talent acquisition, recruiting, definitely reach out to me. You can pick up your phone. I made it really easy, and you can go and schedule a call with me. And let's go through and talk through an assessment where we'll look at your marketing, your copy, talk about your panels, scoring of interviews, types of interviews you're going through to really assess your recruiting process for equitability. Is it equitable? Is it inclusive? Because that can hinder your organization from finding experienced, rich talent and retaining that talent at the same time. So go ahead and schedule a call. I'll leave this up for a few minutes because ageism is real. In technology, they used to say, oh, ageism starts at 40. they found that ageism is actually is now in the 30s, especially in tech sector, in the 30s. And you're like, wait, I'm 35 or 32. If you're in tech, it could already be impacting your ability to find a job. So I do want you to realize it is not at 40, 50, 60, you're seeing it now in the 30s. So if you're a leader and you're in the 30s, you really want to start making sure your organization is focused on removing bias and ageism. You can also connect with me here on LinkedIn. Another QR code. I like to make it easy. I'm at Michelle Hayward. That's Michelle with one L. But definitely, if you don't already, if you have the LinkedIn app, there's the ability to use a QR code to connect with people. Don't know if you're out and about, but it's still a great way to not have to touch business cards to still be able to connect with people online. So I do want to thank you. If you want to reach out to me, like I'm not sure if I'm ready for a call yet, you can also just shoot me an email at info@positivehire.co. Autocorrect will get you, so you want to back up one letter and delete the M, but it's info@positivehire.co. So I am going to stop the share now because guess what? We have other things to talk about. I really want to know what you're saying over in the chat and where we can go from here. So
I see a couple questions. I'm going to pop one up. This is actually somebody who's a job seeker, not on the employer side, but Kim is asking, what about, those recruiters that are asking for the year that she earned her degree? They say it's required. What are your thoughts there?
It's not required.
So this is awkward because if you're a job candidate, you're in a position where you don't want to appear to be difficult to that hiring manager or that recruiter. But if the person who is interviewing you or is asking you to ask for that year and they're saying it's required, I mean, you don't want to say that's illegal to ask me that. You don't want to appear to be difficult with that, right? I mean, what's your advice for that situation?
So it's a couple things. To me, it's a red flag that they have not trained their people and isn't an organization that I want to work with. And I say this, if you're doing this on a recruitment side, what is your HR really like? And so to me, that's a red flag. And I've even gotten job offers, or not recruiters reach out to me and they send me the job. They're talking to me and they're describing the job to me. And I go, this role's been open for over a year. They said, how did you know? I said, it's 3 jobs in one. You're never going to fill this role. And so it goes back to me as a red flag. That's a company I would put on my do not work for list.
Yeah.
And I know it's a hard decision to make when you really need a job.
Yeah.
To me, it's a red flag. You're walking into subculture issues.
So in this situation, Michelle, could Kim give you the name of the recruiter or company? Because maybe there's an opportunity for you to help them out, right? To provide them some training and guidance on that, right?
Yeah. I would definitely send that over. Yeah. And also it depends sometimes on the state they're in. And so it's some nuances in there as well. So I generally don't.
Okay. Related to that, Victor is saying sometimes there's online job applications that are asking for year of graduation as well, and it might be a required field. I mean, if you're in a situation where you have to apply, or in order to put the application in, you have to put in a year, you're kind of stuck here, right? Michelle, I mean, should we put the wrong year in to get it through? And then say, oops, it was a typo? What are your thoughts there?
Well, again, we know networking works best for us. Mm-hmm. And so what I would say to do first is reach out to, if you know anybody in your network, even a second level connection at an organization, to find out more about the organization before you submit, unless it's like the last 24 hours. And then maybe you do a typo for that. Sometimes when companies are utilizing online systems, they haven't reviewed it to figure out that's the option. And it's not their software. Usually it's somebody else's software who put that out there. So
what do you think about maybe putting 2021 as the year for graduation for that? Because they're going to look at it and go, wait, she just graduated. She has 10 years of experience. And then when they reach back out to you, you could say, oh, I must have hit the calendar thing right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's and those are subtle, not so subtle ways to screen people out. Because
Yeah.
when I put the year 2000, like the year two, oh wait, you're old. You finished 21 years. If you've ever seen the memes where it's like, oh, you were born. Okay, well, you didn't look at my license. You didn't even say, oh no, the year that you were born starts with a 1. You're old enough, and you're shocked.
Right.
Speaking of
Right.
that,
Yeah. It kind of can blow up the
yes,
other way. Right.
exactly, Nancy. The new laws forbid those questions now.
Yeah, and
And
things are changing, right? They're
yep,
changing. And Carvel is saying you've hit on so many points that resonated with her. So thank you, Michelle, for sharing all these points with us today. Dan was commenting on the year of graduation, and he's like, "Yeah, I'd be happy to tell you year I graduated after I get your job offer." Right?
after I start, don't even take
Right.
the job offer. You want to start, Dad, and then we can talk about graduation years.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I think there's some other comments that were coming through. I'm not sure if there was questions earlier. I don't think I saw any in there, but I do want to pull up your LinkedIn profile up on screen right now here, Michelle. And I'm also going to pull up your LinkedIn URL. Are you open to connecting with folks that are watching the session here live or in playback?
Yes, happy to connect with anyone. Definitely.
Wonderful. All right, great. And remember, when you invite Michelle to connect, go to her profile, click on that connect button, and then click on add a note and mention that you watched Michelle in today's LinkedIn Live-a-thon event. And if you see employers that are needing some help with their recruiting processes, maybe drop Michelle a list of their name as well, and maybe she might be able to help them out in those areas, right?
Yep, exactly. That'll
Awesome.
work too.
Good. All right, Michelle, any final comments for us before we wrap up here today?
For all the job candidates, don't give up. Follow people and connect with people like Brenda and other experts that she's had here on the LinkedIn Live. What are we calling this?
LinkedIn Live-a-thon for experience-rich job seekers.
A thon. That's what I was looking like. It's a word in there, a thon, because
Yeah.
it is not a sprint. It can be a marathon. And what I mean is levels of stress, but try to find something, whether it's music, water, or walk every day to kind of calm your nerves, and then get back in the job search and really connecting with people here on LinkedIn and other communities online.
Wonderful. Excellent point, Michelle. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us here today. I'll invite you, if you want to come on to the LinkedIn link, we'll keep the stream going for a few more minutes here. I'm going to do some final wrap-up comments. And I just want to thank you again, Michelle. It was a delight having you on today.
Great to be on, Brenda. Thank you for the invitation. Bye, everybody.
All right, take care. Thanks, Michelle. All right, so I'm going to pull Michelle off of the screen. There we go here. And gosh, we are at the tail end of the LinkedIn Live-a-thon. Do you hear the phone calling in the background? My mother-in-law actually has an old school like plug in the wall phone at her house, in addition to her cell phone. So that's what's ringing in the background. So if you've been watching since this morning, I would love it if you could leave a comment in chat. And just let me know how long you've been watching. Have you been watching since 10 a.m.? Did you just come in at 11 or 12 or 1? How long have you been watching? I'm kind of curious. This is an event that I've been putting on. I think I did this January, February, March, April. I'm not sure if I did May or not. I feel like I did 4 months, and then I took a break for the summer. And then I was recently having conversations with a few folks who are experience rich, AKA mature job seekers. And I feel like there's some unique challenges and some mindset issues. But I feel like this is such a wonderful group of individuals who bring so much to the table and can really help out. So I wanted to pull together a platform and a place to give you all advice. If you happen to have missed any segments, if you go to mellermarketing.com, let me pull it up on screen again for you right now. Oh, where was it at? I have a couple different things. So if you want the playback, here it is. Go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe. I do have a double opt-in process. So when you go to that web page, you're actually going to fill out the form. Let me show you what it looks like when you go there. Let me put this in another page, and then I'm going to share it on screen. Here we go. So when you go to this web page, the mellermarketing.com/subscribe webpage, it's going to say join the Meller Marketing VIP email list. Fill out your first, last name, click on sign up, and then you're going to get an email back from me just verifying that you actually want to be added to my list. It's called a double opt-in process. That way I make sure I'm not getting spammy emails coming to me that don't really exist. And you can also be assured I'm not sending you anything without your permission. So it's really important to double check on that part of the process. I am going to be sending out, probably this weekend, an email containing all of the speakers' information, their LinkedIn URLs. If they had slide decks that they shared, you'll be able to download those, some of the offers that they were sharing with you guys as well. And then I'm going to take each of the clips of their presentation. So each presentation was about 20 to 25 minutes, and each of these will be an individual YouTube link. So if you want to go back and just watch Bill Keefer's presentation or just Kathy McCafferty Smith from the morning, you'll be able to kind of scroll through and do that, okay? But you do need to join my email list so you can get notification of those. So make sure that you go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe to join that. One other thing I want to mention is if you are in career transition, you might feel like you missed that time in your career where you were part of a team and you had team meetings, right? Well, I offer something. It's called Friday VIP Job Seeker Office Hours. And I want to invite all of you, if you're interested in coming out and joining us. This is free. Every Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern time, I hold office hours. So mellermarketing.com/Friday VIP that explains what these are all about. And you will have to register every week because it's a different Zoom link. But the good thing is once you come into the first one, you will be on my job seeker list. You'll be notified of future sessions as well. So feel free to come on out. What we do in those sessions, we start by sharing success stories. We will do LinkedIn Q&A, sometimes profile reviews. Sometimes I'll have guest speakers that are coming in there as well. Christopher Johnson is always offering us a Zoom tip. And it's a really action-packed 1-hour segment. If you're not part of a team because you're in career transition, you become part of our VIP job seeking team where you can network and connect with fellow job seekers and hear the success stories from them along the way. You know, I look forward to this. This is my favorite part of every week is my Friday calls. If you're a part of that, drop a comment in chats and let other people know as well. All right, so let me see who has been on here since the morning and see if there's anything else I've forgotten to say. We are calling it the place to be, 923 on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Nancy, for joining here today. Really appreciate it. It looks like Clarissa has been on since 10 a.m. Thank you, Clarissa. I'm so glad that you found it of value and that my tech hookup in the middle didn't deter you. I'm glad that you found and were able to watch the stream. Kim's been on the whole time here as well. Let me take this off of screen here. Let's see who else. On and off doing internet connectivity. We're in Southeast Michigan. We have rain. We've got trees that are falling down, power lines. We had our power last night. My daughter's school lost power and she doesn't have school today. We had internet through the night. 8 o'clock this morning, I was setting up for the live stream and we lost internet at home. So I'm actually in my mother-in-law's house in her guest bedroom doing the live stream, but we made through, didn't we? Cheryl has been watching since 10 a.m. Greg has been on for the whole time. Let's see, someone else from 12:45. And if you missed the whole thing, you can still get the playback. So I'm going to, again, put that little ticker along the way. Just go to my email list, join that, and make sure you do that opt-in email thing. And then you'll get notification of all of the playbacks and you can watch them all again if you'd like. Okay. Kim, thank you so much. I appreciate hearing that feedback. If you guys found this valuable, let me know. I don't know what the plans are for the future in this series. I like doing them, but they're a lot of work pulling it together. And it's exhausting too. I think after I'm done here today, I'm going to not talk the rest of the day. But I love pulling these together. My goal is to help connect experience-rich job seekers with employers that are seeking you. So if I've made a couple of those matches today, I am feeling better. And, along the journey as well, hopefully this is providing you with inspiration, with new guidance, with new approaches, mindset, techniques to think about. I mean, we heard so many great things here today. So I found it really informative as well. Yeah, Robert, you said you did the whole thing with a little dead time in the middle, but back on. So you popped off, you popped back on. We are glad to hear you. And do connect with fellow job seekers. Go through the chat, invite those folks to connect and mention that you saw them in the chat. You never know when you may bump into somebody who could refer you for a job opportunity, right? So do keep that in mind. Okay, Nancy, I am so glad you mentioned this. You said buy Brenda's book, Social Media Pie. So I'm going to put the link into chat right now. If you want to buy it, I would love for your support for that. Let me just drop in this link right here. But here's what I'm going to do. For those of you who are on the session, I am actually going to do a drawing right now, okay? And this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to use this web page. It is called, let me think about this for a second, wheelofnames.com, okay? So if you would like a chance at winning an autographed copy of Social Media Pie, I want you to go into chat right now. It's going to be a little bit I'm not sure how I'm going to do the cutoff in here, but I want you to go into chat and write book, just the word book in all caps, B-O-O-K. Okay. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, wait for you guys to put book in chat. If I see you putting book, I'm going to pull up my Wheel of Names website, which is right here, and I'm going to add you into the list here. And then I'm going to do a drawing for a free autographed copy of my my book, Social Media Pie. So let me give you guys just a second here to start dropping into chat the word book in all caps. And let's see, oops, they're in here. So Cheryl's going to put her name into the drawing. I'm going to put this Cheryl in here. Okay, so as I add names into the wheel, it's going to start to build out the wheel here. So I see Cheryl, I see Greg, I see Kim. See, isn't this neat? And this is a free website if you're ever looking to do drawings. Now, this person, it says LinkedIn user. I can't see who you are. So if you could please put, I'm going to have to go into chat and see, because there's a couple people I'm seeing LinkedIn user and it says book, and I don't want you guys to be excluded. So I'm going to try to do this for a couple more, and then I will look at the live stream as well. So this is using wheelofnames.com. Here's Clarissa. And I'm just going to put all of your names in here, and then I'm going to do a drawing, and I'll message you afterwards if you're the winner and get your address to mail that to you. Okay. So there, whoops, Pervel, I think it was. There we go. Let's see who else we have on here. Let's see, Dan, pleasure to bring the information to you. Had to reconnect. Hey, so did I. So it wasn't just you. Vicki Hepler wants to have a chance at winning the book as well. So right now we're pulling up names for this drawing for Social Media Pie. If you want a chance, put the word book in comments right now. This is only going to be eligible to those folks that are watching this live, because I'm not doing the drawing again later on. I'm just doing one of these in the chat right now. Isn't that kind of fun? Let's see, we have Jacqueline in here and Janae. So Jacqueline and Janae, thank you so much. She messaged me earlier and let me know that the link in the event page was showing the first link. And unfortunately, I learned today that after you've started an event, you cannot change information on the event page. So unfortunately, I couldn't change it, but I did drop a comment into chat with the link for the second live stream. And if you subscribed, you're going to get everything back. Okay. Yay. Sylvie won during office hours. Was it Sylvie? Did you win? Was it somebody who found a job? I think did a drawing, if I'm not mistaken. And they donated a book. They did the pay it forward. So they donated a book to do during a drawing for that as well. So let's see. Lwanele, L-W-A-N-E-L-E. It's one of my techniques. I short-term memory issues, but when I say things out loud, I remember them a little bit easier. All right, let's see who else we have on here. Victor, you've been on the whole time from the West Coast. So you were on at the break of dawn there at 7 a.m. Clarissa, I got you. Bill, nice to see you, sir. Thank you for your support. Scott and Robert, let me put your names in here. Scott, Robert. See the wheel, it's being built out as I add more and more names into here. Bill already has the book and he says he loves it. So yeah, if you like the book, let me see on here. Let me just put the web link on there for those of you who are interested. If you don't want to do the drawing, if you want to buy it, hey, you can buy the book, go right ahead, right? Lisa, let me put your name in here for the drawing. One of the good things about this live stream being split in the middle of the day is I don't have to worry about the 4-hour limit anymore because we started a new stream. So Sylvia is saying, yes, they were paying it forward. All right, so let me just go through chat real quick and see if I can find any names that I have missed. I'm going to do my best here, guys. I'm trying to include everyone who has asked to be included on the drawing. And remember, you have to put the word book in chat. Just going to go through comments in my I'm pulling up the live stream. Whoops, hold on. It's going to echo for a second. I think I did that wrong. Give me just 1 second. I'm trying to go into my activity feed, clicking on comments, and then I'm clicking on most recent to see if I have everyone in here. Victor, I think I've got you. Nope, I don't have you yet. So let me put Victor in here. And we're just about done here. So let me go toggle back and forth. I think it's this one. So we got Donald in here. Don't see my name yet. Okay, thank you, Donald, for putting that in there. If you don't see your name, put book, I don't see my name. That'll help me out. Because if I'm not seeing you, I don't want to exclude you on purpose. I'm trying my best here. Lisa, let's see. So Lisa L and Lisa Roger. So Lisa L and Lisa R. So I see 2 Lisas that were in there. Okay. Let's see who else I have in here. Kind of fun to do a drawing, isn't it? I think I've got everyone else in here. Donald, I've got you. Pervel, I've got you. Loanel, I've got you. Michael, I have you. Dawn, I have you. Janae, Jacqueline, Mary Lynn, Vicky, Pervel, I've got you. Clarissa, Cheryl Clark. I think I've got Cheryl in here. Cheryl in here? I think she's at the top, isn't she? Yes, Miss Cheryl's in the top. All right, so let's see. I think that's it. Lisa Rogers, I think I've got you in here too. All right, so I think that's it. Oh, Kathleen, I don't see your name in here. So you might have been one of the LinkedIn user people that I couldn't see from earlier. Kathleen, I think that is it. Okay, so Kathleen, I'm going to add you in at the end here. Okay, so this is wheelofnames.com. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to click the wheel to spin, and then it is going to automatically pick a winner. Okay, so here we go. Just like in Vegas, when I click the wheel, I'm going to show you I'm not using my elbows to hit the space bar or anything. It is picking the winner. I don't know who it's picking right now. Let's see what's going to happen here. There you go, Kim. Congratulations. Kim, if you could, if we're connected already on LinkedIn, could you please message me and provide me a mailing address where I could send that book for you? And I'd be happy to get a copy of that book in the mail. And again, that's for a copy of my book, Social Media Pie. It's a LinkedIn strategy book. If you're looking to get a bigger slice of LinkedIn, I have a great book for you. It's called Social Media Pie. So I'll be mailing a copy of that book to you, Kim, as our lucky winner for the day. And yeah, you can buy it on the website, or you can go to Amazon, either place. I know sometimes I get Amazon gift cards and I'm like, well, buy them on the website on there. All right, guys, so I think that is it for today. Let me just take this off of screen. And thank you all so much for joining. And final comments, all of you, if you are in career transition, I want you to remember a couple of things. You are awesome. This is temporary. You are still of value. Regardless of where you are in your career, you are experience rich. And that means you bring so much in terms of talents, expertise, knowledge, passion for what you do. And I want you to remember that. You will find a job. This will pass. Someday we're going to look back at this and go, wow, can you believe this whole thing was happening with the pandemic and all this craziness? But you will find a job. You will move forward. So believe in yourself. Remember that, guys. And remember that I believe in you too. Thank you again for watching. After you're done watching the video here today, I'd love it if you could click on share and share the video along with others, and help to spread the word about these great things. So I'm going to put that quick reminder up on screen, and then we're going to end the broadcast here. I don't think I have the share. It's not on here. I have so many reminders in my queue here, right? So I'll just say, click to share with others. Click to share with your network. So I'm going to put that on screen to remind you guys to do that. All right. I think that'll work. There we go. Click to share with your network. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you again so much for watching. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on LinkedIn and watching your success stories along the way. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.